You've got 7 days to answer some incredibly intrusive and personal questions about your money, or it is gone. You have no more access. That's exactly what happened to one individual in Australia from the nation's largest bank. Let's discuss it and why gold and silver are so important as we explore. Probably don't need to go much further. You've got the gist of it. That's exactly why we should be stacking gold and silver. A member of the community shared with me a story from Sky News. It is all over Australian media. I'm going to be referencing, though, a piece here from Stuart Perry about what is happening to a Commonwealth Bank customer as according to access to his money will be cut after a 7-day deadline. This is from Lewis Christopher, who was asked to provide information about his money, and he said that's a step too far and good for him. And folks, if you don't think this can happen here, well, just wait. Already, we have the foundations in place here in the United States of America with what's known as Fed Now. There's not really been a whole lot of talk about Fed Now, but I discussed it pretty in-depth and detail as to what exactly that is. Now, it's not a central bank digital currency. However, it provides a framework for such a thing that could come down the pike. Especially when you think about what it is to be able to speed up transactions. Well, if you think about it, it's pretty much already in place. But so far, right now, if you send an ACH transaction, it still takes a long time in order for that that e-check to clear. So I think that tells us that there's something that's going on deep here in the U.S., and it's only a matter of time, I think, before something like this could happen here. So this is why we stack gold and silver. What exactly is happening? Well, a Commonwealth Bank customer feels like that he is being treated like a criminal after the major bank threatened to cut off his access to his money, and if he didn't reveal exactly how he made it. Lewis Christopher has been a member of Australia's biggest bank since opening a Dollarmites account way back in 1978. So that tells you something. And I think it's a good idea to diversify regardless of what happens in the immediate future or down the road, not only for reasons like this, but for other reasons as far as economic instability. Gold has been an anchor of trust, and silver by extension as well. And when I shop around for precious metals, I do like to find the lowest price if I can. Summit Metals is on my list. It's not just because they're a sponsor. They've actually made a name for themselves, and already they are seeing a lot more repeat customers. So check out summitmetals.com. And they also have just posted a video about dollar cost averaging. They have a YouTube channel as well. So check out Summit Metals' YouTube channel as well. I'll post a link to that in the description below. The Sydney resident told Yahoo Finance that he was disgusted when an email landed in his inbox asking him to detail the source of his funds and wealth. The 52-year-old founder of SQM Research was given a 7-day deadline before he wouldn't be able to use his cards at ATMs, shops, or online without a warning of the flow on consequences if he didn't comply. I've done nothing abnormal in my account recently, Christopher told Yahoo Finance. You would think that this type of history, they would be a bit more careful with their long-standing customers. On top of the source of his wealth, the bank wanted to know why he had withdrawn cash, if he was holding cash at home, and details around why he made transactions with certain parties. Wow, that's deeply personal and intrusive. I've been treated like a criminal, and I don't provide this very, very personal information, and that's not on, he said. It's crazy. Now, the thing is the question is can these banks hold your money hostage to probe criminal activity? Christopher is right that the bank makes regular probes into Australians' finances under its obligations to investigate money laundering. Commonwealth Bank told Yahoo Finance it was following a national policy, know your customer. We are required to manage our customers' accounts in line with the anti-money laundering and Counterterrorism Financing Act of 2006, a spokesperson said. Well, why is it now in 2025 that these questions are going out? And something just doesn't add up here. And, knowing your customer is very different than, wanting to find out where their money is being spent and how it's being spent. And by the way, you could very easily lie about all of that. It's just insane. It's invasion of privacy. The law requires all banks across the country to collect, verify, and maintain customer identification information. Every now and then, financial institutions will reach out to customers to ensure they have the latest details on file. All banks are required to take action if there is non-compliance, including locking customers out of their accounts. CBA said that these rules are set by the Australian Transaction Reports and Analysis Centre, known as AUSTRAC, and CBA stands for the Commonwealth Bank of Australia. This is something else, and it just goes to show you that this type of activity. And I know that there has been some people in the United States. I know I have experienced it, although not as dramatically. But I've been kind of said, oh, I've taken out a fairly good portion of money, and they're like, okay, hinting, asking a question, what's it for, that type of thing. And, of course, I didn't answer the question, and it's really none of their business. Ensuring we have a customer's most up-to-date and correct details helps us to keep them safe and protect them from fraud, they say. Well, I tell you what, that's not what they always do. They use that as an excuse. But Christopher felt that the request went too far and questioned how secure the details would be, particularly in an era where data breaches and leaks aren't unheard of. Exactly right. I regard this as a potential security threat to have that information out there on my family. He took particular issue with the idea that his data doesn't just go to CBA. The bank can share details with certain third parties, such as joint account holders, brokers, advisors, and people who act on your behalf, service providers such as product distributors, businesses who do some of our work for us, including direct marketing and IT support, other financial institutions such as banks, auditors, insurers, and reinsurers, and, the most scariest of all, government and law enforcement agencies or regulators, as well as overseas groups and entities. Crazy. However, they're not shared with all of these third parties every time there is a KYC request. That's not acceptable. I have no idea how they're going to use that information, Christopher said. I would have been fine if they just simply double-checking that my driver's license is and those types of essential things, but to take it as far as they did is basically putting my head to a gun. The only grounds where there would be a situation where they demand to know what you're doing with your money should be by a court order. Indeed. And, that certainly is an invasion. But, I don't know what Australia laws, and compared to our laws here in the United States, it does make you wonder, what is this account for, and the impetus and how far their ability to reach in a supposedly freedom-loving country where, there's democratic principles there. For a nation like Australia to do that, if you want to pull out some money, and you got to know exactly why. Maybe as little as 10 Australian dollars or maybe 10,000 Australian dollars. Here in the United States, if we take out $10,000, it raises a red flag. Of course, $10,000 today is not what it used to be even 5 years ago. So it's more heard of, and especially in some cases, for people to take that much money out. It's crazy. So this comes off the back of banks copping heat for asking customers detailed information about cash withdrawals and their intentions about how they would spend them. It has raised questions about how much financial institutions need to know about your money movements, your autonomy to take financial risk, and their obligations to protect customers against scams. Christopher shared his experience online and has met with many other Australians who had been quizzed over their finances in recent months, some with accounts blocked. I went through the same thing. They actually did suspect a joint account. I verified the information, but the other party did not. I'm having a terrible time trying to access what is mine. wrote one person. Had the same email and letter been sent to me from an NAB bank, I ended up caving in and providing them details, added another. A third claimed that they had accounts closed or restricted after being interrogated about their spending practices by CBA and other Australian banks. A third said they had similar experiences with CBA and other Australian banks with accounts closed. And folks, this is exactly why the anonymity of having gold and silver is so crucial and important. And this is why it's good that, when you make a purchase, online, you're not fully, even if you use an ACH transaction, even with a place like Summit Metals, who I certainly recommend, but also it's good to buy some in cold hard cash from your local coin shop where there's no paper trail. And even as such, you can always say, well, you sold it or you lost it in a boating accident, which is the famous phraseology these days. However, having gold and silver online or in your possession does provide a level of anonymity, and you can transact in it. There's nothing that says you can't here in the United States of America under Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution, which has never been challenged in a court, which is, I think, one of the reasons why many states around this country have indeed implemented legal tender for gold and silver and removing taxation on them because they know that they are money according to the United States Constitution. So, fascinating story indeed, and I tell you what, it does make you wonder and think if it can happen in Australia, more likely it can happen in other Western-style nations, and maybe even here in the United States of America. But nonetheless, thanks again for sharing this with me from an individual. And I tell you what, this is pretty scary stuff that's happening there in Australia. Let me know what your thoughts are about what happened here, and let me know if you've got some gold and silver to protect yourself, just in the case it gets really bad. I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to each and every one of you for taking the time to watch, and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.